Hi guys, welcome back to Windsome Cottage Garden. My name is Hannah and I'm so glad that you decided to join me today. We are in the home garden and we are outside because it is a beautiful 50-degree day, which is unusual in February. In fact, when I left this morning, there was still a little bit of snow remnants on the ground, even though it's been above freezing for the last 10 days or so. It took a while for it to melt. And I thought what we could do in this video is do kind of a bare bones garden tour, walking you through while it's still very much winter, even though today might feel like spring and the birds might sound like spring. And I have a little spring surprise to show you as we're walking around. It is not spring. Hopefully spring is right around the corner, but this is false spring. If you're in the Midwest, you know. But I'm going to enjoy it while I can. And what a great day to walk you around the yard and kind of show you what things look like when they're bare bones. And also giving me an opportunity to talk through some of the plans I have for this space, probably long term. Not all of this is going to happen in the next year or two or probably even 3. But I'll talk about the areas I'm going to focus on this next season, as well as long-term plans for the yard. We're starting off in the backyard on the deck. The deck is pretty beat up, and unfortunately this arborvitae, as you can see, did not survive some of our winter snows. When things got really cold, we got about 24 inches of snow in 4 or 5 days, and ice intermittent, which meant that the snow stuck to all the trees and was very, very heavy. I actually had, and it's still caught up in there, a couple branches on these hemlocks come down. There's a lot of trees that came down, power outages. I was really fortunate that that didn't happen to me, but sadly I did have some big branches that were casualties, and this arborvitae was actually bent probably like within 8 feet or so of the ground. So it was at quite an angle, and I'm honestly surprised it's come back this much, but it looks pretty awful. This is a very tall arborvitae. I'll show it to you when we're down there. I mean, if you look, this is a 2-story house and it's quite old, quite established. So I don't think it's going to be able to be wired this far up. And long term, I'd like to remove these. They're big and beautiful, but they don't really provide any additional privacy because, as you can see, there is a big, beautiful spruce tree right there, which allows us to like kind of use the deck unencumbered. So these I think will be on the removal at some point docket. Getting a new deck or getting it redecked is also on the docket at some point, but probably a little further away than I would like. And the other thing that's happening in these areas, I do want to pull these out. I hate yew bushes quite passionately. These arborvitae I might try to move because they're not as big as those guys. I don't know when I'm going to do that because, as you might see, the fencing kind of stops, the railing. I don't really know how they got away with it because it is quite a drop off. Like, definitely above the 3 feet that you can get away with. So I'm going to leave these here until I probably redeck, which I'm guessing is next year or the year after. I think I might decide to spend a little bit of money putting up like a temporary rail and then take these out so I can plan more accordingly, because what I would really like to do is pull up this chintzy skinny walkway, which is really too skinny, and kind of come off of this line and really kind of probably pull it up to here. I'd probably take the stuff off of, so there's probably more like 2 feet against the house, so it comes nice and wide, and have a path that comes through and then curves to the right, but then also comes and meets this more centrally. I think, looking over it as well, what that would mean is I'll probably at some point want to try to put in like a wall of some sort down here. Now I was right there, I'm now down so you can see it from this side. There is a bit of an incline right here, and I think what I'd like to do long term is probably put like almost a tiered garden in here with a short wall that kind of makes a nice deep planting space and kind of ties in right here where the path would come, and then just wind down till it hits a grass point. That would mean that this will turn into quite a deep bed, and this would all be bedding as well. This is very deeply shaded, so I'm not entirely sure what I've thought about a lot of different things that could go here. One thing I do know I'd like is to try to work like a red bud in right here, maybe a dogwood, to kind of add some extra canopy in this little space, some spring interest, but something that won't get massive. I'd want something a little bit on the smaller side, but I'd have to check the light to see if it gets enough light to be happy. And then this will turn into probably something really fun. I could see myself putting another like seat or two right there, so it's kind of like a cozy little spot you could jaunt off, and then just like hostas and things like that that are pretty. Long term, this is a lot more grass than I would like. My dad likes to joke that at my old house I took the fairly small yard and made it even smaller every single year. And there's an element to truth to that I did cut into the grass every single year because I really hate grass. Like, I mean, I like the rest it gives your eye, but I don't like maintaining it. I don't like cutting it. This has in-ground sprinkling, which is nice. At my old house, I was hauling out hoses all the time, whereas everything else I'd automated. So yeah, grass is not my favorite, and I'm gonna probably pretty deeply reduce the grass that's here, focusing on larger shrubs on the outside, doing some deep mulching with some of the pine needles that I naturally get here, as well as working with ground covers. I would really love sweet woodruff, but anybody who has pets knows that sweet woodruff is not your friend because it has burrs, small burrs that aren't super prickly but are a pain to cut out of your dog's fur. Ask me how I know. But you know, probably myrtle and things like that we can work in to reduce the amount of mulch that I need. I also think with some of the larger shrubs towards the back, I really want to create like a bowl shape or an enclosed space that makes you feel cozy and has lots of beautiful things to look at. So all that to say, where I am is probably going to be the start of the grass space, and I'll put a very rough drawing I made up on the screen here to help you visualize this. And I'll probably pop it up time and again to kind of show you where I am in the video versus where I am in the drawing. Now, this drawing will probably take 10 to 15 years to achieve. So I'll probably change my mind a time or two in that. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm not holding myself hardcore to it, but it'll help you kind of get an idea of what I'm thinking. So like I said, I'll probably have this tiered wall type of thing that kind of provides a little bit of space. So that'll be a room and this will be a room. Where I am right now, probably from about halfway between me and the fence, gets a decent amount of light. I'm not entirely sure how much. I think it'll be the shy side of full sun, so I'll be able to get away with some things in this area that up against the fence I can't. But I need to really invest in figuring out what lights where. Along this corner, because of all these hemlocks, which do provide a beautiful green wall and privacy, I'm going to do deep shade things. So I have oak leaf hydrangea I already got planted. I think it'd be a really beautiful spot to do a Japanese maple, maybe another redbud tucked in the back that we just kind of see popping over things like that. This will all be, well, it won't all be, it'll probably be bed till about there, and it'll be kind of kidney bean shape because this right here is full sun. So this wall, I'm envisioning this wall will kind of come out and go around, jet out a little bit and then in. One thing I have to keep in mind with all of this is I have a septic field. Even though I'm on city water or township water, I have a septic tank and drainage field, which I have drawings of roughly where it is. And so this spring, when the ground is more thawed, my dad and I are going to come out and kind of map it based on the drawing and sticking a pole down to see where we hit it. What my understanding is, it comes out 10 feet from this corner, there's 2 tanks. And then the drainage field is like 12 to 13 feet off this and out here a little bit. So this is a pretty big drainage field, which you can't really plant anything on. Or rather, it's not advised to plant things on. You don't want anything that will, with big roots that are going to go in. So grass is actually a really good thing to leave on top of it because it'll help with the evaporation. This field is actually fairly new because the previous owners did not know that you shouldn't really plant things on top of it. it landed a tree in the middle of it. When they had the tree taken out because it was dying, a bit of the drainage field came with it, and the people removing the tree freaked out and told them what it was. In the process, they discovered, and before I bought this house, so a year or two before I bought it, they basically had to put a brand new drainage field in, which is a very expensive thing. So I'm not about trying to replace this drain field again. I'm more about preserving it. So what that means is my grass, then there might be like a corner here and there I'll soften, and only plant really shallow rooted things on the edge. This will be grass, and it's actually going to drive a lot of how my grass looks. But up against the house, this is all full sun. So we're going to have a really deep bed, probably to about there. It'll kind of come in a little bit. And then over here, I think is where it's going to be the most sun. And that's going to be where the vegetable garden is. I'm going to sneak it in between the drainage field and the property line, which it's not going to be huge. I think it's about 13 feet. So probably here-ish, like in line with the corner of the thing, which means I'm gonna have to get creative about how I am planting things. Even looking at this now, I think the plan I have might be too ambitious for this year because it's basically 3 fence sections. So that's roughly 22-ish feet wide. I have to go check my drawings, which will be a separate video where I walk you through my plan for the vegetable garden this year. This year, eventually I'll do a raised bed vegetable garden. But since it's been a very expensive year with moving and other things, and the things that I do want to invest money in this year will be more structural items like trees and larger shrubs that take a long time to grow on. So I want to get that clock started. Those things plus things like an irrigation system, this needs work. I'm probably going to have to spend quite a bit of money fixing some things that we identified towards the end of last year. All of that will take priority over raised garden beds. So this year I'm going to plant mostly in the ground and use, I brought the 4x2 water troughs with me that used to be on my driveway at my old house. So those will be utilized as well as in-ground planting in some grow bags that I already have. And it'll give me a feel for the space and how the sun does, and might make me decide to shift where it's going. I don't really know if I have another alternative, but it is what it is. That's the plan for this space. I mean, if I'm dreaming big in 10 years, what I'd actually like to do is take the shed out because I don't think I will use it, and it's a little janky. Its days are numbered. It's probably going to last like 5-ish years, but I do think its days are numbered. It's not going to last more than that. And potentially, since I am allowed one small building like that, put like a greenhouse over here, like small but beautiful would be a goal. And the other thing that I have plans for is this little secret garden area over here. This is where we kind of had to come in and close this space. It's actually pretty basically shade. And what I'd like to do here is, again, build up a little bit of a raised bed and then just stone here, except for probably a very small stretch along the house, and create a little reading area in here. This is the east side of the house, so it might get a shot of sun, but I need to evaluate when it's later in the year how high the sun is in the sky to see what it gets hit with. But I think this could be a really cozy area, though it's not one that I'm really going to touch this year at all, but it's one that I'm excited about and actually have a lot of plans about it, but I know it's going to take some time, and I have other areas I want to focus on first. Coming back out here, if I stand right in front of the tree I was just under, you can get a really nice view of the whole yard. And I do think that that'll be a really pretty section. This will be opened up a lot more by taking this arborvitae down, and I'll be able to enjoy this space more. Plus, I do think one thing I want to think about is what to do with this gap here. There are 2 hemlock trees that used to be part of this row that are now gone, and it creates kind of a gap in the canopy, unfortunately, right where my deck is and right where my neighbor's deck is. So I've thought about trying to plant another tree there, but I don't know if I want to give up that sunlight. The other thing I thought about doing is doing like a raised decking, like over here, so it's like a step up, and like a pergola type thing, but with a solid back that I get something pretty like wisteria or something to grow on, so that there can be another seating area that serves as a focal point here. I don't know if that's going to be too busy This will be fairly beautiful, but all gardens with a minimal wall. Maybe this pergola here, this would come out. Maybe a greenhouse there. So I think greenhouse, pergola, deck is not too much, but it could be. One of the things that I really want to be intentional about in this yard is creating different rooms and different places and vantage points to rest and use the garden that showcase different vantage points in different parts of the yard. I think it'll evolve a little bit over time as I figure out the space and the lighting a little bit more and how I want to use the space. Like right now I don't have any kids, maybe that'll change down the road, and I want to prioritize having a play place for them. We do live pretty close to a play place that they can play in, so I might not do that, but I don't know. I think it'll also depend on, as I kind of get in here, where do I naturally find myself sitting and wanting to spend time. My old yard was so small, but I was still able to create some of those rooms. But I wished I had more seating areas and different places to sit and rest and enjoy just being in the garden. So that's one of the things I'm definitely going to keep in mind as this yard progresses. I did promise you a spring surprise, and that is in our holding area. It's a little hard to see right now because of the angle of the sun, but everything has actually come through really well, including this lemon thyme that I thought was going to bite it because it typically does in the winter. It liked my holding method, and it's been very, very mild. But one thing I noticed, all the hellebores made it. And even though they are in pots, they are putting up blooms, which is really exciting. I've heard hellebores don't like to be transplanted. I have never had them skip a beat when I've transplanted them. So I don't know if I've just been extremely lucky, or because I don't think I'm doing anything super special in all honesty. But yeah, I think the ones that are the furthest along are these guys, which are a really pretty deep red one that I love. Everything else looks good. I think it's early for some of these things to be breaking dormancy, but I'm encouraged by that. I did note, I just stepped on it, but there was a mouse hole here, so animals did come in and, you know, root around in here. I was gonna see if there were any buds on the peonies. Look, there are in this guy. Yes. Okay, so that's the big red one. I'm not really seeing in any of the other ones, but it's very early, unless that is one right there. It is. So 2 of them have buds. I will probably be hauling these out in the next little while. Well, next month, like the tail end of March, I'll start hauling these out, but you'll see some of the roses are still looking pretty amazing with their leaves. Kind of surprising, but apparently this was a very safe place for things to winter over, because it's done quite well indeed. If we peek over here, these things look decent too. This is the one that was a zone 6. That I was a little worried about, but I can think it's done really well. And so far, I haven't seen anything that I'm like concerned about per se. Oh, look, I was worried about that. That's the little lupin that I didn't think was gonna make it. That's new. Let's see, what else have we got? Well, this baby hellebore was a seed hellebore from my old yard, and it's putting up a new leaf. And then these guys are doing well. It's always kind of like, iris are kind of scary to me because you don't know if they're gonna take. There's a couple that look sad, but in general, let's see these guys. These guys I was getting towards, well, there's a couple that are taking, and they feel good. Yeah, I think these were given to me by a coworker, probably too late in the season, and I just stuck them in grow bags. I haven't actually been out to look at these in quite some time, so that is very exciting to discover that. Another exciting thing, we are celebrating my brother Sean's 21st birthday today, so I actually need to go to that. But I wanted to share with you what the garden's looking like right now on a beautiful day where you can hear birdsong and envision what's to come. I am really excited about this space. I'm really excited about diving in. I'm going to start seeding things this weekend, and we're just going to go from there. So if you liked this video, please make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. I'm going to be doing another video soon walking you through my vegetable plans for the cottage garden vegetable garden, as well as this garden and some of the varieties that we're using. I did a seed haul video, which I'll link below, recently with everything new we're doing. But this will allow me to get into the tried and true favorites in a little bit more detail, which will be fun. You won't want to miss either of those things. I'm still posting once a week or so, sometimes 2 weeks. It's actually a very busy time at work for me. So it might not be quite as frequently as I'd originally liked, but things will start picking up as the spring progresses. These moments of fall spring always give you hope, but then that hope comes crashing down a little bit when it snows. But I did hear that the groundhog didn't see a shadow, or did see, anyway, whatever he did meant that it's going to be spring. So anyway, I really appreciate you joining me today, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye-bye.